Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Cam Wilson with Dominion Lending Center's Canuck Mortgage Group. Just wanted to bring up a quick thing about pre-approvals versus rate holds and the different institutions that you get these types of, pre-qualifications from. So with a rate hold, it's simply a submission to the lender, and then they automatically approve it and say, okay, your rate holds for 120 days or 90 days or whatever that time frame is. The rate is XYZ, and you have that rate until the deal goes live. What that means is when you, the buyer, find a property that you put an offer in and you secure that offer, it's accepted by the seller. That now gets resubmitted back to whatever lender you're dealing with as an approval. And at that point, that's when you're going to go firm and commit to buying the property. The other type is called a pre-approval. So there's a rate hold and a pre-approval. So there's two types of pre-approvals really in rate holds. There's rate holds and pre-approvals that are not underwritten by the underwriter. So in other words, they're not looking at your income documents. They're not, looking at your credit history, pulling your credit report. They're basically just going off of what you tell them and saying, okay, you qualify based on that information. So with a fully underwritten pre-approval, that your information is actually being vetted by the lender or the mortgage broker in my case. So every time I issue a pre-approval to a client, sure, we can get the rate hold from the lender, but I'm actually scrutinizing that individual's profile, right? So we're pulling the credit report. We're taking a look at the income documents to ensure that that client is really eligible, because sometimes clients make mistakes. They think they're full-time when they're not actually full-time, depending on how that letter of employment is written. So there's often things that come up where clients really don't have the knowledge to be able to fully evaluate their own circumstances, right? And that's why getting a fully underwritten pre-approval is so important, because you're actually going out into the real world to buy a property now with real, qualification behind you versus just a simple rate hold. Like major financial institutions often don't pull the credit history at the pre-approval stage or rate hold stage because there's a $7 fee that's associated that you pay Equifax or TransUnion. I have to do it on every file that I pre-approve. When I look at the credit report, it costs me money to do so. So the major institutions sometimes don't want to incur those costs without a guarantee that the client is going to move forward with them. And there is no way for any of us to know that. If a client gets pre-approved with us, they don't necessarily have to proceed to the approval stage with the person they were pre-approved with or the bank or financial institution they are pre-approved with, right? So the banks know that, customers maybe not so much, but so sometimes they don't pull that credit history, and sometimes when a client goes to the approval stage and puts that offer in, oh look, we found an issue in your credit history or whatever, now you're declined. Well, if you had had a proper pre-approval to begin with, we would have found those issues, far before you would have taken your valuable time to go look at a home and the realtor's valuable time and all these different steps. You want to establish if you're fully pre-approved straight up front, and it does matter where you go to do that. Like I say, some of the major financial institutions, all they do is just take the information you're telling them, put it into the computer. Okay, you're eligible for XYZ without looking at your credit history, without pulling a credit report, without looking at your income docs. So be careful of where you deal with, and those are the kind of the differences between rate holds, basic pre-approvals versus fully underwritten pre-approvals. So keep that in mind. It's an important thing to understand and can help you a lot in the process to save time and to give you some more clarity on what avenues you can take in the market. So again, my name is Cam Wilson. Thanks so much for tuning in. If there's any questions you ever have, you know where to reach me. Thanks again. Take care.